Recently, I have been saying that TNA live events and pay-per-views that I've been providing predictions for are the biggest in terms of the company's direction going forward. And it is true. Each one of those events and pay-per-views have been the company's biggest in terms of... We are now at the stage where TNA is having their biggest pay-per-view of the year, the 20th edition of Bound for Glory. And to say this pay-per-view is massive would be redundant. Everyone knows that it is. With all that said, hello everyone. I'm John and welcome to another episode of Sudden Impact, your premier destination for news and stories about TNA wrestling. Join me as I predict the card as it is less than a week before the show airs. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay updated on anything that happens with TNA wrestling. As I mentioned in this intro, this Sunday's edition of Bound for Glory is the 20th edition of the event. It takes place in Lowell, Massachusetts at the Songa Center on Sunday, 12th of October, airing on pay-per-view in the US and Triller TV internationally, as well as on TNA Plus globally. As of the recording, there are 7 matches announced for this event, with 1 or 2 matches potentially being added on the next episode of Impact, which happened on Thursday. The X Division Championship match that was announced at the end of Victory Road a couple of weeks ago by Santina Marella sees champion Leon Slater defend against NXT's Javon Evans in an absolute dream match that the fans of both companies have been wanting since the partnership between the two companies has been announced. This would be the best possible way to start the pay-per-view and give fans watching the best possible show with action that lives up to the total non-stop action moniker. I am hyped for this match and I'm wanting it to be full of unbelievable moves. And ultimately, I'd like to see Slater retain the championship without any interference from TNA or NXT wrestlers. The annual Call Your Shot Gauntlet, which is a 20-person Royal Rumble type match with the winner granted an open contract for a championship match within the next year, essentially making it a Money in the Bank type contract. As of this recording, there are only 2 wrestlers announced for this match, with Mance Warner and Lei Ying Lee entering at number 20 and number 1 respectively, based on the qualifying gauntlet match held on an episode of Impact. This match has the potential to be the best in the match's history, with the NXT partnership in full effect, as well as the AAA partnership as well in effect, with wrestlers slowly making appearances from that company again. As the other participants have not been announced for this match beforehand, and most of them likely to appear when their entrance music hits, it's difficult to predict a winner, so unfortunately I can't. The Tessa Blanchard versus Gia Miller match, which has been fielding all summer after Blanchard attacked Miller when she was interviewing Indy Hartwell after the match at Slammiversary, causing Blanchard to be suspended for several weeks and only returning recently on an episode of Impact and going on to attack Miller again. It was revealed the following week that Gia Miller had Blanchard's suspension lifted on one condition, that Blanchard face Miller in a match at Bound for Glory. In a pre-taped interview where Gia Miller said this, she also talked about the history between her and Tessa Blanchard, with them both attending the same wrestling school initially, where Miller, quote, learned everything that Tessa was about. This match was a surprise to me, as I thought it would never happen, given that currently Gia Miller is a backstage interviewer and that Tessa Blanchard is a world-class wrestler being positioned for a massive heel run at the Knockouts World Championship. I think this is a way of Tessa being positioned for that run, at least from a booking perspective. That said, I don't see Blanchard losing unless a lot of distraction and interference from the Knockouts locker room was involved. The 10-person intergender hardcore war between the System and Order 4, with the System represented by Moose, Eddie and Alicia Edwards, Brian Myers and JDC, face Order 4, represented by Mustafa Ali, Tasha Steeles, Special Agent Zero, Jason Hotch, and John Schuyler, will be just that, hardcore, I am predicting that we will see violence unlike any other kind that only TNA can provide with its innovative use of weapons in such matches. At Victory Road, we saw Mustafa Ali pick up the victory against Moose, earning the advantage for the match, which sees both teams start off on a one-on-one match, and at certain time intervals, other wrestlers released from the teams until all 10 participants have entered, and therefore making it pinfalls and submissions coming into effect from that point. Much like War Games. And also like the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, I don't know who will be starting the match, much less at which point the competitors will enter the match as well. As for the winner of the match, I'd like it to be Order 4, so that they can continue their work as being the dominant faction of TNA. At Victory Road, NXT's Kalani Jordan won her first World Championship and took it back into NXT hands. At Bound for Glory, Jordan will defend the championship against #1 contender Indy Hartwell. While I would like to see Indy regain the championship and bring it back into TNA hands, I don't think that having Kalani Jordan win the championship a couple of weeks before having her lose it would do her and the NXT partnership justice, unless it was just a way to transition the championship. Therefore, I am picking Jordan to retain the championship one last time. Can you believe the Hardys are still wrestling and are the TNA World Tag Team Champions, and could potentially be going into this match at Bound for Glory as also the NXT World Tag Team Champion, going into their final match with a tag team that helped revolutionize tag team wrestling in the late 90s and early 2000s in Team 3D, the former Dudley Boys. This match will be an homage to their past tag team battles, which involved various stipulations and other tag teams, with the stipulation of this match being a Team 3D specialty, the tables match. The Hardys hope to once and for all prove they are the superior tag team by winning this match. I'm going to go with the Hardys, as neither Bully Ray nor brother Devon are wrestling on a regular schedule. However, I think that after the match, all four will share a moment, and which brings the crowd to their feet. In the main event for the TNA World Championship, it sees NXT's Trick Williams as the champion defend against Max Santana. For those who watched Slammiversary, where Williams defended the championship against Santana and Joe Hendry in a triple threat, you saw Williams ultimately pick up the win after interference from Frankie Kazarian, as well as a dissent between Santana and Hendry over who should be the person to bring back the championship into TNA hands. The build to this match has been about Santana getting his one-on-one match with Williams to decide who the better man is. This match has to end with Santana winning. It can have as much interference as humanly possible, but Santana has to close out his redemption story and send the TNA fans home happy. That's all for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe to Sudden Impact for more news and stories about TNA wrestling, and I'll see you in the next one.